Hi everyone, I'm Sweet Melba. Thanks for finding the channel today. So, Sweet Melba, this channel is really focused on what it means to have a life well lived. And I am looking at different aspects of my life and sharing those, the lessons learned along the way, the pros, the cons, the challenges, the successes. So that's what the channel is about, sharing those stories and having you as followers of the channel and those that watch sharing your thoughts as well. So I think the journey is all about a life well lived and how do we go about doing that? Looking back on our lives, what we've accomplished, some of the challenges, the lessons we've learned, and what's still yet to come. So I'm glad you joined me, and I will look forward to continue sharing stories about a life well lived. So today my story is about living alone or living solo versus married life. So since I was young, I'd say, maybe 11, 12, I did not want to get married. And I was like, I am never getting married. And I said it all the time. So, when you're young and you're kind of, thinking about your life ahead, I just never wanted to get married. And again, I said it all the time. And my best friends, my friends in school, everybody knew that. When the subject would come up, I said, no, no, I ain't getting married. I ain't going to do that. No, I don't want to be tied down. I don't want to be told what to do. It just kind of, that was my MO, I guess you'd say. So yeah, so that's how people knew me. I was not getting married, and that continued on into my life and through college. I had no plans of getting married. I was very interested in my developing a career and just not focused on the relationship component. So that wasn't something that was a priority for me. But I have been married for 18 years now, and I've been married more than I lived solo. So what happened? Well, I'm going to share my experiences, some lessons learned, and the story is to come. Living alone or living solo, I did that for about 14 or 15 years of my life. So, after graduating from college, I moved across country to go to graduate school. And while I was living near family, I was living on my own. I had my own place and I really loved it. I decorated it the way I wanted. My schedule was my own. And like I say, I was going to grad school part time and I was working part time. And it just really worked out. So I didn't finish graduate school. I decided to move back to where I had grown up, and I lived alone for another year, maybe a little over a year, and then moved to a new community where my parents had moved and stayed with them for a short period of time. Then I bought my house. And so again, now I had more of my space. So a lot more decorating. So, but really back then, my focus was my career. And I really didn't want to have to limit what I was doing or what kind of hours I worked or, if I went to a conference and, having to check with somebody, but, that kind of thing. I did have dogs. I had two dogs. And again, my family lived nearby. So, I was alone, yes, but, I had family around me and I had my dogs. And of course, I had coworkers and we would go out after work and we all got along really well at the place that I worked. It was all going really well from that standpoint. And we would go on some, vacations nearby. We did some fun trips, a whitewater rafting trip, which I'll share one day because that was a great experience and a lot of lessons learned through that. So yeah, everything was good. And I had my friends that, I had grown up with. They lived in different areas, and we'd talk on the phone periodically and share. And occasionally we'd get together. I would visit them, or they would visit me. And so, yeah, everything was going really great. So, all good. And with my career, I had been involved with that for about 8 years, really on that, where that career path was really for about 8 years. And one of the priorities for me was getting certified in my profession, which I did. So that was a big accomplishment for me. And then I had decided to start my own business. And that became a priority, obviously, and just really starting that out, developing, establishing clients, things of that nature. So, my attention and my time was really somewhere else. And again, the priority really wasn't, relationship in terms of a romantic relationship. There were a little here and there, but, it was nothing of the standpoint that I was like, oh, I'm definitely, looking to find somebody to get married. So again, I was really happy living alone, living solo, as they say. So it was good. And, I thought about getting married and at that point, and I guess my concerns really were I didn't want to change. I didn't want to change who I was. And I guess I was concerned that that might be the case. I ate dinner when I want. I ate what I want, at different times and whatnot. I was just responsible for me. And I didn't have to worry about somebody else's schedule and adjusting my schedule to work with somebody else's. That to me seemed like a drawback. I didn't want to have to take care of somebody else. I didn't want to have to cook meals for them. I didn't want to have to do laundry. Again, I just didn't want to have to worry about somebody else. I was very content just taking care of myself. So for me, it was really that changing. I was again concerned. I think that I was going to get who I was going to be changed, and I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want the whole lifestyle to change, and I saw that as a real negative. So that I think really was my primary thing in living alone. But again, I enjoyed it. But living alone did have some challenges. I was limited in, I knew how to do certain things. My dad and parents taught me well on, taking care of myself. But certainly there were things that I couldn't do on my own. And, I'd have to see if my dad could help, which a lot of times he did. Sometimes I had to hire somebody to come over and fix something that we couldn't fix. And so there were some challenges there. One of the other things that I think I just started to be more aware of was that you didn't really have somebody, a partner or whatnot, to talk to about different things. You're watching TV, or you're seeing news things, and yeah, you can talk to your parents, and you talk to your girlfriends or whatnot every now and then at your coworkers, but there's just something not having somebody there with you at the time talking about those things. And so I think I just kind of started to notice some of that a little bit more. And I think it really was, again, I brought up the career piece because for me, I think that was a key thing that started to change for me. I had, as I said, started my own business. I had been certified in my profession. I think I kind of was feeling like I had accomplished, what I needed to really get my career going. So I think I was feeling more settled in that realm of my life, which career was always a big thing for me. So I think I really felt I had accomplished the things that were important to really get my career going, get my business going. And so I think my thinking had changed a little bit. I was at a different point in my life. My living alone was pretty much between my mid 20s until my late 30s, mid to late 30s was kind of the time frame. So again, tying into that career part, by my mid 30s, I kind of had things kind of lined up, and I knew where I was going. I knew where my path was going in that respect. So again, I think it was a time I was in a different phase. There was a new phase in my life, I think, that was coming along. And I was thinking about different things and where I saw my life going, I think. And I was starting to wanting to travel more, and I had done a few trips on my own in some respects. And I think I was noticing that I really didn't have anybody to share that with. Certainly, again, with friends and whatnot when you got home, told the stories and with coworkers. But a lot of my friends by this mid 30s time frame, they had started their families. They had been married. They were starting to have children, and so that dynamic, that interaction was changing between their lives being more of a family life and mine being very solo from that perspective, a single life. So there were differences there, and I think I was noticing that as well. So I think what was changing for me and my perspective of did I want to continue to live solo or live alone, or did I want to try and pursue finding someone that I might want to spend more of my time with? I don't know that I really thought, okay, I need to find somebody to marry. I don't think that was my thinking process. I just think I was more open to the idea of maybe it's time in my life that I want to find somebody else to share things with. So, there's a saying, and I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't think this is exact, but what you need in your life comes to you when you're ready to receive it. And so I think I was at that point in my life. It really was, looking at, okay, well, if I'm looking for a partner, somebody to share things with, where am I going to find this person? Because, like I say, I had all my coworkers, my clients, so my circle of friends, contacts was somewhat limited. And I didn't live in a very large community. So I was kind of, I guess I need to start meeting some new people, and how was I going to do that? And I think I'll do another video on this for another time in some more detail. But I went and decided to try the online matching. So back, I don't even think eHarmony still exists. Maybe it does. But I went on eHarmony and tried that. And then I was on Match.com. But anyway, I'm going to leave that short. Like I say, I think that's another story for another day. But that's how I met my future husband. In my late 30s, I think there's a significant kind of lesson there in that I knew what I wanted in my life going forward, or for the most part, right? I'm not a drama person. I really don't like drama at all. And I think being in your 30s, you know what you want, you know what you like, you know what you don't. So I knew kind of what I was looking for, what I was kind of looking for in a relationship. So I think that was helpful. So I think, maybe a little later in life, you've learned some lessons along the way. And again, you've learned what you like and you don't like. So you're kind of weeding through and you kind of know what you're looking for as far as in a relationship or someone to spend some more time with. Like I say, I was looking for someone to share things with, again, conversations, travel, activities, just the day to day normal life routine, and just kind of sharing that. So, again, I kind of had that kind of in my view and kind of what I was looking for. And like I say, I found, well, actually, my husband found me, or my future husband found me. I was getting ready to get off this dating site, and he saw me at the last minute. So, meant to be, maybe. Thanks everyone for joining me today on the porch. This is Sweet Melba. So I hope you'll tune in next week for part 2 of Living Alone or Married Life as I share my story about meeting my future husband, how things are going, and what's coming up next. So I hope you'll join me. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Sweet Melba. See you next time.